Yo, what's up? It's your boy, the Professor, coming to you live. I don't even got any camera action going on now, Joe. I look all frozen up, don't I?
You do. You're the man of steel.
I'm the man of steel. Let's see if we can get going here. Oh, no. Joe, take it away while I get my camera fixed.
All right, Panther Nation. It is Green Bay Packer week upon us. We're coming off a feeling of confliction when you deal with a tie. You're happy for the tie because you didn't get the loss, but at the same time you didn't get a win. So you feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied. But the week is over. We're on to Green Bay this week. Tony, are you squared away?
I am squared away. I'm getting things all set up for tonight. We got a fun show tonight. It is the C3 podcast. It must be Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. And CarolinaCatChronicles.com brings you the hottest Panther fan podcast out there because this is just what we do. We talk football. We talk Panthers. I'm excited. I got a lot of fun stuff to talk to you about tonight, Joey. And I kind of want to just go ahead and jump into the show. What we have essentially is we have the first Carolina Panthers tie, right? Mm-hmm. And let's talk about this. We got to go back. Baby, come back. We're going back right now to the tie on Sunday. Joey, tell me about what you saw good on this tie. Have you ever liked the tie? Roman Harper said it was like kissing his sister.
And, that's a very commonly used cliche. I did see a lot of things that were good. I saw a great number of things that were good. I guess I'll start at the top with the offensive line. Cam dropping back 46 times and not getting a sack? How unbelievable was that?
I thought their defense, and we had been hyping their defense up like it was awesome, and what we got was a game that two teams put up 37 points. There wasn't much defense in that game.
No, I know. It's like they stayed on the bus. Like the defense stayed on the bus and didn't come to join the game. In fact, it was the highest scoring tie game ever in the history of the NFL.
Highest scoring tie game.
Yes, when you think of the Panthers and you see that the Panthers put up 37 points, you're thinking, "Oh man, we got a win. We blew them out." And then you look and you see that they gave up 37 points as well. It really makes you say, "Wow, this defense isn't as good as they were last year." But on that note,
they're not anywhere close, dude. They stink.
They do.
I hate to. Actually, I don't hate to say it. Well, I do hate to say it because I hate to have a stinky defense. But we're talking about a defense that couldn't tackle me. And I got to say I'm pretty proud because ever since I started the website, dude, all I've been doing is staying up late, drinking beer, and working 25 hours a day between my regular job and the website and the podcast and all this stuff and the family and all of that. So I got to say I'm proud. 2 days in a row, I went out running. Nice. And you know what? I didn't see Roman Harper catch me. Didn't say Thomas Day Koo catch me. Right? Is that what happened? Well, they just don't look like they're that good.
No, they're not right now, and I hope at some point they will be, but as of the moment they're not. I think it's a combination of things. First of all, I think it's personnel. One thing I noticed during the game was how far back Kason was playing from Sanu. It was like he was in another time zone. Because I guess he didn't want to get burnt by Sanu. I understand being a few yards off of him, but he was like 10 yards off of him.
Joey, I saw one dude on, and I'm not trying to bash any fan writers because I think it takes a lot to put yourself out there as an individual. I think it takes a lot of courage to receive criticism, And I like anybody talking about the Carolina Panthers, no matter who they write for. That's kind of always been our style. But I saw a guy post something, and I will leave it anonymous, but I know everybody watching reads all the same stuff. And it was like, Thomas Deku, comeback player of the year.
After this game, I mean.
Where's he coming back? Do I got to play the song again? Because we're still waiting. We're still waiting. We just had a lot of what I feel like is that when we do try to make a play, it kind of on our defense specifically, things just don't shake out right. And for what I'm trying to get at is there was a play, I think Kason tried to make a jump on it. There was another play that Melvin White made a jump on and missed the tackle. And it looked like he had a good, bead on the play, like he had a good football instinct. And then there was the other where where we batted down a ball and somehow Sanu still catches it.
Right. Actually, I think Kason should have caught it, but he did only bat it down, and it went through his hand, so to speak. And Sanu grabbed it out of the air and made a good play. It was a good football play, but you want to see your guys when they get the opportunity for a turnover like that. You want to see them finish it. You don't want to see him. You see it go through his hands only to be completed. But I mean, there's a whole litany of things that we didn't do well as a team. Just as a defense, I guess. Offensively, we did do many things well. It's sort of a 180-degree spin from where we were last year. We knew our defense would keep us in ball games last year. And we hoped our offense could score enough points to win it. Where this year, we hope our offense can score enough points to keep us in it. And, our defense, well, we just have to score enough points to win it. Because
we just give up. Do you know we are in the bottom 25, Joe, of all, like, defensive categories, just in general?
Yeah, I know. We are that bad.
What does that even mean?
That just means we are that bad. I mean, I think it's, like I said, a combination of personnel, and then I think it's also added to that is lack of discipline. We're not as disciplined of a football team as we were last year. A lot of people missing assignments, a lot of people over pursuing, just all kinds of breakdowns in the defensive scheme. So, when you have those two big issues, you're not going to be good, Tony. Let's face it, our personnel isn't great. We knew that going into the season. You know what I mean? And our secondary, at least. We knew our secondary was going to be a huge question mark. But we were counting on that front seven to be dominant, just like last year.
Right.
They were dominant last year. And that would help make up for the question marks in the secondary. Well, the defensive front seven hasn't been dominant, and it has exposed our secondary at times as being incredibly vulnerable.
Right.
And we saw a lot of that this weekend. This past.
Well, I saw this. We heard, and I thought I was going to get the sound clip for us tonight to play, but I heard that Dave Gettleman was saying, not Dave Gettleman, Ron Rivera was saying it would be asinine to not address how important Greg Hardy was to this team. I think it's sad that we've got to talk about that, about Greg Hardy being – it's just amazing that he was that good. And I got to say I was wrong on him because, I thought he was good. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't realize that he was so pivotal to our team and to that pressure. And I just don't know why we're not performing anywhere. We're not stopping the run. Our secondary. Here's the thing, is that we're supposed to get pressure, like you said. Well, our whole game plan is based on that pressure.
It is.
And stopping the run and making teams one-dimensional and that way we're giving our secondary just work with us. But now our secondary's having to make plays, Joey, and that has been tough because what they do, and let me see if I can do. I think I got a little present for you right here. Is that here we go. Let's see if I got it. Maybe not. Nope.
Oh, no.
I thought I had an image of them hugging it out when it with Kason and Melvin White hugged on the field when they went after that ball, and then Cincinnati came up with it. It was so terrible. So let me ask you this, Joey. How close were we to winning this game? I caught up with Ron Rivera, and this is what he had to say.
That was the disappointment. It was one play. That was the difference, and that's how close it can be. It's one difference. You can say the same thing about the kickoff coverage. It was one play. But
Joey, Ron, how many plays? Can you tell us?
It was one play.
That's it? We could have won with one play. We could have lost with one play. How do you feel about Ron Rivera talking like this? This has been something that has bothered me this week. I don't like, and I heard this today on Herney and Gardner, which is terrible to listen to, by the way. It is so boring. And I know that they're trying to give you a lot of insight. They are just so old. I feel like, man, I'm listening to my grandma's podcast, like radio station. But Marty Herney said this, is he said, because Ron Rivera talks about how the numbers are good when you don't count those one play. Like he says, don't count.
It was one play.
Don't count it. Don't count.
It was one play.
So, but Marty Herney said you got to count it. You know, they happen. Mm-hmm. And we got burned two plays specifically. You know, I can handle the Gio Bernard play. I can handle that. Yeah, I can handle him doing that because, I don't like that it happens. It's certainly not that's not the Panther way, right? I mean, that we're supposed to limit big plays. That is our style. But what we're talking about, Joey, is that, you know, sometimes big players are going to have big plays. I can't handle the kickoff return where Pac-Man Jones looked like my man was fresh out of college.
And he's an old man.
He's old. And this is the other thing. He made Roman Harper look young. Nah, not at all. Nobody looks at Roman Harper look young. But Roman Harper froze up. He froze up, and here's the thing. Why is it that we were playing? Why can we not tackle all of a sudden?
Right, I don't know. It's like we have forgotten. You know,
I think that's a good point.
It's ridiculous because, you know, we have coaches that emphasize good tackling, and we have the leading tackler in the NFL over the last couple of years, Luke Kuechly. You know, it's also about position, though, because on that particular play, you know, Thomas Davis was out of position. Starlu Talele, they got creamed by a Cincinnati offensive lineman, totally blown out of the play. So, you know, it's you don't like to see it as a Panther fan. You know, this team was founded, this team was established with defense. And going back to Greg Hardy, you wouldn't think one player could be so pivotal, so vital to this defense. But it seems that he is. And, you know, we've talked in the past about Greg Hardy and not signing him because, you know, the question is he worth that much money? Well, I think we know our answer now.
And why is this? Why is it that why is it that the right tackle, I thought Charles Johnson was supposed to be big money. So why is it that the right tackle goes up against the the right defensive end goes up against the left tackle? I understand the geometry behind it. Like, I get why right and left match up. But what I'm saying is, why isn't it that the right tackle, I guess it's because the quarterback can see them coming. The
Right, right. You're talking
Pass
about
rush.
attacking the blind side versus the
Right.
front side, and I think that is a part of it. Also, I noticed that Big Money
He
was
played very well. I think I would give him. In fact, we're going to get to that point in a minute in just the show. But I thought he was amazing. I thought there's two defensive players that stood out more than anybody, more than Luke Kuechly, more than Thomas Davis, was K'Wan Short
mhm.
and Charles Johnson. I
And
thought they were the kind of answers to what we had needed for such a long time. I felt like we were generating enough pressure. I mean, and it worked obviously because what's his name got all freaked out
got
and
flustered.
played. And by the way, I called that mess. I called the fact that he tries to trick you into you believing that he is good for 5 games, and then he plays terrible. And I won't say terrible because he had 50 passes or whatever it was, but he did not impress all the way. He made some bonehead plays.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He got rattled, and that was part of our discussion. Was if you can rattle him, he will make bad decisions. And for the most part, for most of the game, he didn't have any pressure. He had, he's releasing with like 1.2 seconds or something crazy like that. So he's not going to feel pressure. But there in the second half, when we ramped it up a little bit, he got rattled and he became less effective. I mean, it
Right.
was clear he was less effective. The red rifle was running for cover because he was feeling the heat from Big Money.
That was the truth. All right, let's talk about 4th and 1, Joey. Overtime, they've scored a field goal. We have not been able to stop them at all. We've given up 37 points. We're moving the ball well. What do you what do you feel like that was? Do you think that was a good decision?
Ron Rivera has earned this moniker, Riverboat, and it's cool, it's fun, it's hip, but he's not going to do it all the time. He's not going to go for the gamble. Now, I'm of the opinion that if you're on the road, you go for the win. If you're at home, you go for the tie. And
But
being
that's
on,
that's in regular play. That's not even in overtime, really.
yeah, I think so. And even in overtime, that's my opinion. I think if you're on the road, you go for the win. But it was not 4th and 1. It was more like 4th and 4 feet. So, he
I don't care
just
if it was 4 and 4. I mean, like Gano had already missed the chip shot field goal in that game. We were playing well, and to be honest, we lost that game, Joey. We lost.
we did. We
Is
should have
that
lost that game.
is that the fact that we can say that we are excited about tying because some dude named Ted Nugent missed a field goal from 30 yards away. I think that shows that it wasn't a good decision. I think that you got to go for the win because we would have lost. Under normal circumstances, under minus the fluke plays, we lost that game.
Right, and I
We
think
get off the field. Um,
we did. We did. We should have lost that game. It was clear to me that we should have lost the game. Aside from the missed field goal at the end, we didn't play well enough to win it. But you look back and it's easy to second guess. Hindsight is always 20/20. And should he have gone for it? Maybe so, because Cam was playing really well. Offensive line was playing really well. But is it better, if you look back at the division's history, there have been several division champs that have had a tie on their record. And a tie doesn't hurt us as much as a loss.
no, but we didn't get the tie. They gave us the tie. That's the thing.
Well, I know, but once it's on the record, you can't take it away. It's not like they're going to look back and say, oh, well, Cincinnati really gave you that tie, so we can't count it. You know what I mean? I do understand your point.
Yeah, so I thought it sucked. I thought we could have gotten the win. Speaking of one play, and if Jericho Cotry would have hit that.
It was one play.
Just one play, bud. Just one catch. Also, Greg Olsen, I thought that Cam put a pretty decent pass on Greg Olsen at one point going down there. It was a little tough catch. I mean, or not a little tough. It was a difficult catch. So, you know, we were so close, and I like to see how much our offense is clicking right now. I think it's, you know, Cam, he didn't look, I still don't think he looked like the Cam that he was.
I agree. He wasn't 100%, but you could see he's getting close.
Yeah, but that was a big difference. All right, so let's talk about Cam Newton, and I want to talk about this Burfict dude. And this is what Greg Olsen has to say about this, because I know you saw that ankle twist, and this is Greg Olsen has made a big deal calling for Burfict suspension.
You understand that sometimes there's penalties and guys, you know, kind of go above and beyond the lines with some hits and helmet to helmet, and that's all in the flow of the game and sometimes hard to avoid at times. But I think instances like that are so clearly premeditated that he had in his mind, if he had those opportunities, that he was going to try to attack not only guys' legs but guys who are coming off, you know, ankle problems specifically. You know, there's no room for it, you know, and I think the punishment needs to go beyond a fine, or, you know, I think the guys like that don't learn from that stuff. You know, he's been fined 100 times for headhunting, and he did it to Kelvin again. You watch the film, he does it. You know, it's just what he is. And at some point, if the NFL wants to really say they care about guys' safety, they got to start putting guys out for weeks, because, you know, me and Cam are lucky we weren't out for weeks, or Kelvin's out for weeks. You know, if you're going to start putting guys on other teams out, then the ramifications need to equal that.
That's Greg Olsen, Joey, on the dirty play by Burfict. And you know what I got to say about Burfict is I think there's only one name for him.
Yeah, Turd, you are just, I don't even have a name for you anymore, except Cow Turd.
That's what I think. That's what I think about it, is that I think he's a big old cow turd. And I thought it was just dirty. I mean, it's not, I don't think it was dirty. I know it was dirty. Everybody saw it. And it was, I don't understand how you could even think on a football field something like that would ever be acceptable. And I hate all these stories in the past about guys that were terrible and blah, 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 and how they did things in the pile and this and that. I just don't, I mean, it seems like it's just cheating. It's no different than taking steroids. It's no different to me. It's cheating. And I think he sucks.
Well, I think it's clear that type of behavior is not going to be tolerated. I do believe it goes on. It's much more subtle. That was so blatantly obvious. It's not like he was even trying to hide it. But I will say this. If it had been Tom, female dog boy, Brady, on getting his ankle twisted, you better believe the NFL would have stepped up and made some suspensions by now. But because it's Cam Newton, they're taking their time and sort of, I guess, even wasting time. This guy, Cow Turd, has not. Yeah. This isn't his first offense. You know what I mean? He is notorious for playing dirty, for doing, you know, things the wrong way. Even in our game, he got an unnecessary roughness penalty for when he hit Cam. And if you look at the play,
and when he hit Kelvin,
yeah.
And also, you could watch his YouTube tapes. Like, he tried to take out dude's knees. He took a dude's shoe off and threw it on the sidelines one time.
Get him off the field till he has to go get.
It's a sad thing when you can say this, Joey.
Nick Saban is a better man than you are. You could
That's a sad day when you could say Nick Saban is a better man than you are. Um, so, what do you think is going to happen to him, Joey?
I believe he'll get fined, and I hope that they'll take into consideration all his past instances. Going back to the beginning of his career, I guess he's only been in a couple years, 3 years, and they suspend him. I don't think the suspension is unwarranted here. I'm not talking about like a 8-game suspension, but I'm talking like maybe 2, 4 games, somewhere around there, just to say, hey, you can't be doing this as blatantly as you were. It's like he said to the NFL, F you guys. I'm playing. I can do what I want. I know you have rules against this. It doesn't matter. I can do it. Basically is what he said. Am I right or wrong? Basically.
I thought so. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Joey, how do you spell justice?
Justis.
Is my man's name not coming up? Here we go. All right. Yeah, is that to me this is a clear need for a suspension. Is that I think this is just this is just downright Bush League. That's all it is.
Yes.
And you're talking about trying to ruin a bunch of fans and a guy. It's one thing for a dude to be healthy, but he was attacking vulnerable parts of these people, right? People he knows. He was like doing his homework on what these injuries were. So, I just don't know what to even make of this. I've never even seen something like this. I thought there would have been a better code of conduct in, a kind of player respect more so.
Right.
But
amongst themselves. Right. Just a mutual respect. And that's what I don't understand is you hear these guys talking about, when they're playing each other, oh, we have respect. This is how they make a living. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. But then you go and do something like that. That's totally going against what you're talking out of one side of your mouth and doing something else. And I don't, I just can't, I can't have respect for somebody like that. When you're talking about, because you're talking about hurting someone, putting them out for a couple of games at least, and then on top of that, you're talking about possibly ruining this team's season, and ruining a season for a fan base.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
Just the layers of FU that he broke by doing what he did. Just, I mean, it's fans, it's players, it's teams. Just, it's totally disrespectful.
Ron Rivera, this is what he had to say with it right here, and he was kind of agitated with the media.
I watch the tape. Things that I think are questionable or need to be scrutinized by the league, I'll list them and send them in. And because I do that every week, plays I think that are dangerous or a little extracurricular, and then once I do that, it becomes a league issue. So I'll let the league deal with that.
So we'll see how interested old Roger Goodell is with enforcing this and keeping the shield, protecting the shield, because like I said,
hey, cow turd.
That's what I think about you.
And Greg Hardy says it. Greg Olsen says it all. He says, the league is so focused on player safety and protecting the players. This is an opportunity for you to go in and really protect the players from other players. That can't be acceptable. If nothing's done, other players are going to look at this and say, "Oh man, there's no penalty, no fine. I'm gonna start going after Tom Brady when we play him, or Peyton Manning's neck. Let me give him a forearm shiver to the back of his neck."
Oh God, dude! Oh my Lord! See, that's the thing, is that I don't want to believe any of this is that nasty,
Right.
So we were supposed to have a guest on tonight, but I have not been able to locate him. Obviously, I have last minute getting prepared for the show. So I guess we're just going to have to move on without him and talk about Green Bay Is there anything else you want to talk last about this game, Joey? We talked about the fourth down. We talked about Dirty Burfict. Hashtag Dirty Burfict. Thanks for that, Susan. Y'all can check out the Twitter conversation, which is live and roaring right now. Thanks for tuning in to Carolina Cat Chronicles, the C3 podcast, every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock. Joey, is there anything that you want any more to talk about this game? Oh, actually, I do. Here's one thing. I ran into Greg Olsen, into Thomas Deku, and some people had some words for him on Twitter.
Thomas Deku and Roman Harper suck. You're welcome. Sincerely, a Falcons fan.
Oh.
That's him reading tweets on the air. So Thomas Deku and Roman Harper.
Thomas Deku and Roman Harper suck. You're welcome. Sincerely, a Falcons fan. Thomas Deku and Roman Harper suck. You're welcome. Sincerely, a Falcons fan.
Oh,
jeez, this guy. You know what I think of? He's not. I don't think he's that bad. But this is what I saw out of him: is that he's scared to tackle. You know, our boy Scott Karasik said that he was a terrible tackler.
Yes.
We were like, well, Roman Harper is terrible in coverage, and Thomas Deku will be the spy, will be the robber out there. And here's the thing: is Deku is scared to tackle. That's what I see. I see a dude that goes after your feet, right? And so,
Tony, I'm sorry to interrupt. He said he hasn't gotten the invite yet. It's justicefootball@gmail.com.
there we go.
He said he added both me and the crop.
I see it now. Let's see.
Okay.
Boom. All right. So that dude, he goes after people's shoes. Here we go. We got it. Nice. Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for instant messaging, Twitter, text message, save the day.
Justice, what's up, man? It's Joey. How you doing?
I think he's still. It's still coming. There he goes.
There he is.
Hey guys, sorry about that. Couldn't figure out what was going on at all. I've been watching the show though.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
All right, awesome. Well, introduce yourself, bro.
I'm Justice Mosqueda. I write for Optimum Scouting. It's the draft syndicate for Sporting News. Draft Breakdown. We make all the videos for for draft people to watch, so that when y'all get ready for draft season, y'all have like 15 videos on like Andrew Luck to watch. And I write for the Packers for Bleacher Report.
Nice, nice. Speaking of this, what we're gonna go ahead and do is shift to our preview of the Packers. And Joey told me when we were talking about this.
Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype.
I don't know about. I do believe it. I've been a Packers not supporter. I don't know if that's the right word. Is that I have mad love for Aaron Rodgers. I think there's a lot of solid weapons there, and I didn't buy the slow start, having trouble transitioning. You know, I knew that the feet were going to get underneath them. Essentially, what everybody expected to happen with New Orleans is happening with Green Bay. How are you guys feeling in Wisconsin? Or, what are you guys thinking about this team, should we say?
I don't know. See, it's really hard because this team is really definitive on how they play. Like, they can't stop the run, and they can't move the ball on the ground. But they're really good in the air in both aspects. The defensive backs have definitely stepped up with the addition of Ha Clinton Dix in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
They bring back Casey Hayward, who's kind of been hurt off and on for 2 years after a really good last year after a really good rookie season. Devon House finally took a step as a boundary corner. Tramon Williams looks like Tramon Williams of old. He doesn't look like last year, which was a tire fire. On the front seven, I mean, they're getting penetrators. I mean, Mike Daniels is looking like Geno Atkins. Dayton Jones isn't amazing, but he's still really good as an interior pressure creator, I guess you'd say. Julius Peppers, at this point, is looking better than Clay Matthews. I mean, Clay Matthews might be the biggest disappointment outside of Eddie Lacy on the squad.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah. Clay Matthews is right now he's slated to like have like 2.5 sacks this year, and he's in like a 4-man rotation outside linebacker. It's crazy. Clay Matthews just doesn't look the same. What's really interesting is that, I mean, y'all are gonna kill him on that zone read. Like every single time Clay Matthews has to go against his own read team, I mean, he looks terrible. You look against Miami. Miami made him look like a fool a couple times. Like Ryan Tannehill just full on running past him. And then they like gave like a fake read at one point because they just knew Clay was just gonna stand there no matter what. They just like kept it anyway. You see Ryan Tannehill running like 20 yards on Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews can't catch up. It's odd, man. I can't tell what was going on with him. He had a groin injury late in September, but McCarthy says, Clay's consistent. We're not worried about Clay at all. Nothing about any sort of groin injury or anything. And Clay had those issues all up until that point too. So it's really hard to figure out what the heck's going on with him this year.
That makes me want to ask you, Justice, with Clay Matthews, he plays, I know in the past he's played at like 100 miles an hour, just full speed ahead. Do you think maybe it's catching up with him? Just that toll that it takes on the body? Because he's balls to the wall.
Yeah, so this is one thing too, is so they have another outside linebacker, Mike Neal, who actually played at Purdue as a defensive tackle. Now, going from a defensive tackle in a 4-3 to going to a 34 outside linebacker is a huge difference. And one of his issues was he just put on so much onto his frame that it was stressing his tendons and it was just stressing everything. I mean, that's kind of the point that we're getting to in the NFL, right? And that's why they're putting in this HGH stuff, is because they're like, man, like we're getting too big for like human bodies to actually like have. Like, human bodies can't run efficiently when they're at this size. Right. So, I mean, I could totally believe that. I mean, when you look at Clay Matthews, he's always been huge. And I know there's been speculation about that stuff. I don't want to touch on that. But he's always been big, and he always keeps getting hurt, right? The only year that he played a full season was his rookie season. And besides that, he's had little injuries that ding him up, out 3 games, out 2 games, out 5 games, something like that over the course of the season. I mean, I could buy into that, just being that he's just so big that it's just putting stress on other parts of his body.
Right, and that is a sign of dabbling in performance enhancements is wear and tear. Little things, you're going to get dinged up over the course of the whole year. Not like you have a major injury, but you'll pull a muscle, you'll sprain a ligament, different things like that. And that has been the telltale sign of him during his career for the most part.
Yeah, but it's all been soft tissue stuff. I mean, there's never been an instance where there's like, okay, he tore his ACL or anything like that. It's all soft tissue.
Right, exactly.
We just got a tweet in that said, we run against them, they pass against us. So everybody's just going to be moving the ball like crazy. I hope that we're going to need Cam on the ground in this game to do well. What about... I want to know about Randall Cobb. Just how good is that dude?
Yeah, he's good. What's interesting is, people really like Percy Harvin and people really like Cordarrelle Patterson. Randall Cobb is kind of like what they should be, right? Like they're the guys that are like the small like move guys who really can't get the touches for some reason. Randall Cobb is getting these touches, man. Like Aaron Rodgers, he'll look straight at Jordy Nelson. If Jordy Nelson isn't open, he'll just throw it right to Randall Cobb in the red zone. I think he's leading the league in touchdowns right now. And that's an interesting point that you brought up about Cam Newton, because I was thinking about this going into Sunday, I think. Because I was like, oh, Cam Newton can't really do anything on the ground as I'm watching the Miami game, which is going on at the same time as the Cincinnati game. And I was like, all right, so he can't, thinking, all right, like, Miami's absolutely killing us on the ground. At least Carolina, like, Cam's still a little dinged up. He's not going to be able to move the ball, and they got the running, they have the whole running back situation. Then I see Cam Newton starting to run the ball. Like, crap.
What was it, 107 yards, Joe?
Yeah, 107 yards, that's right.
Let me tell you this. Cam Newton is on my bench in one of my fantasy teams. He's starting next week.
I bet.
Wow, I like to hear that. Joey, jump in there, and because you had a question before I interrupted.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, my next question, Justice, was going to be concerning, you mentioned his name already, Eddie Lacy. As good as he was last year running the ball, what's happened?
He looks like he's added some weight to him. Some of the issues with the interior offensive line, right? So we went from Evan Dietrich-Smith at center. He's now gone. They have J.C. Treader, who's been doing well. I mean, everyone says that he's doing really well for a rookie and things like that. I've broken him down a couple times. The problem is he's so light. He's like 190 pounds. There's this website called mockdraftable.com, and it shows like the percentiles of where you rank for a certain position at like a weight and things like that based on like combine numbers.
Mhm.
He's like the bottom 5% as far as weight is concerned for offensive linemen coming into the combine. Yeah, I mean he's a 5th round rookie who's starting at center, and that's just kind of what he's having to deal with at this point. He's really good in like zone blocking scheme things where he's like able to hit angle blocks and stuff like that. But if it's just a straight block trying to put a dude on skates straight ahead, it's really an issue for him because he's only like 290 pounds at this point.
Right, which is light for an offensive lineman.
Yeah, and Lacey, Lacey's never really had great vision. Alabama went from kind of a power scheme to an inside zone scheme his last year there at Alabama, and but he's still getting like those outside things. Like he's not doing as well. I mean, last year they were in the shotgun giving him pitch sweeps,
Right.
getting him into space just trying to hit somebody because he's
Right.
really not that good at reading defense. I mean, I think James Starks is only like 1 carry behind him or something. Like he's really a running back by committee at this point.
It
James
really
Starks.
is.
Yeah, James Starks this year I think is averaging over 1 yard per carry more than him. Last year he was like a half a yard per carry more. James Starks is actually like legitimately good. And last year he ranked at the top 5 in yards per carry if he uses carries as like the threshold to count who gets in and who gets out and stuff. And when the Packers went a no huddle last week, that last drive in Miami, I mean, they told Lacey to sit on the bench. They're like, we got to get Starks out here because he's the only guy who's going to be able to move. And I think he ripped off like a 12-yard carry the first play.
Wow.
Starks has always been a consistent player. I always feel like Starks has just been a good football dude. Like he's just one of those guys that if you were gonna like play dodgeball or pick up basketball, like he would just be a good. No matter what, he's never gonna be bad on your squad. That's how I've always felt about James Starks. I want to know, since we're Carolina Panther fans and obviously we're going to be prepping and preparing for this matchup, we want to know how good Julius Peppers, how much he has left in the tank. Former Carolina Panther, a lot of people in Carolina have mixed feelings about Julius Peppers because of the way his exit went and some things, and then he came back when he was in Chicago and he gave the shh to the crowd, and when he got a sack on like probably Jimmy Clausen, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count. But Julius Peppers is my favorite Carolina Panther of all time until Cam Newton. So how good is he at that in that 3-4?
Well, you know what? The first thing is he didn't do that just to y'all. He returned a pick 6 this year, and Morgan Burnett like pointed at him and was like, "Yo, you got to go up into the stands. Like you scored, you're Lambeau leaping." And he like made him Lambeau leap over the Bears.
Yes.
It's like, oh man, that's got to be.
I saw that pick 6. It was an awesome play, by the way, too.
Yeah, so Julius Peppers, I mean, he definitely got lighter. Everyone says that he's got lighter, and he looks like it on the field. He's putting his hand in the dirt a little bit. When the Packers for a while were mixing in between a 3-4 base and a 4-3 under. I mean, I think they play more nickel and dime than anyone in the league. But when they are in base, they do flip it a little bit, especially just because they don't have really that big body. With B.J. Raji out at nose tackle, he tore his bicep in I think it was the last or second to last preseason game. So they don't have a starting nose tackle. Their starting nose tackle right now is an undrafted free agent named Mike Pennell, who's actually done decent. But, I mean, he's no stud. So they're really trying to, like, create a lot of penetration in the front seven. I wouldn't say he's Pro Bowl caliber right now. I mean, I've seen what a Pro Bowl pass rusher looks like in Green Bay. But he's definitely a very solid player, and if Green Bay didn't have him, I mean, they'd be starting Mike Neal or Nick Perry. But I guess both of those guys are doing better than Clay Matthews right now, so I don't really know.
Well, that's because Clay Matthews is probably worried about having to pee in a cup. Nah. I'm interested to see what the HDH testing does to the landscape of football. I wonder just how deep that penetrates rosters and what guys are doing. Coming from a team that just had a guy get a second and 10-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs, which they don't really tell you what they test for. At least I haven't been able to see it. But another thing is this Julius Peppers, I heard this, Joey, and how does this make you feel, that he was potentially going to come back to Carolina, do a last stint with us, join this defense because we could have used a little of the depth, and it would have paid dividends for us this year.
Mm-hmm.
But Green Bay called him up and asked him, do you want to be a linebacker? And it's something that he always wanted to do, and he was excited about the opportunity. How does that make you feel, Joey?
Well, I'll be honest and say I'm not surprised because during his tenure here in Carolina, I always thought, wow, what a great outside linebacker he would be in a 3-4, just because of his freakish athletic ability. You know, being 290 pounds, running like a 4.5 40 at 6'8". So, you know, for him I guess he wanted a new challenge. I don't hold it against him. It would have been nice. We could certainly have used his services this year. You know, God knows with the injuries and suspensions, we definitely could have used him. But I don't hold it against him for wanting another challenge, you know, something he'd never done before.
What I find interesting is that all these pass rushers, they always say, you know, we want to be a 3-4. You know, Mario Williams says, I want to be a 3-4. Until those 4-3 paychecks come, and you're like, all right, I'm playing in Buffalo.
Exactly.
Because I'm playing with my hand at the Buffalo.
Would you guys say that Julius Peppers, the closest thing to him ever since him has been Jadeveon Clowney?
Ooh, yeah, probably. I mean, I think Watts as good as he was in his prime, but I don't think that they're the same type of body or anything. Like Watt can move inside and stuff like that. That's kind of different. That's like when you're comparing like that's kind of comparing like Lawrence Taylor and like Reggie White. You just got to kind of be like, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. One's like a linebacker, one moves at D tackle on third down.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like Clowney is the closest thing we've seen. Like, I think Julius Peppers was the Clowney of 10 years ago.
All right. I mean, I could see that. They're physically, they're very imposing, and they're big men that can move really, really well. You know, I went to the South Carolina Combine to their pro day, and it's I mean, you're looking at this man like, how is it humanly possible for someone that big to move that fast? It's amazing to see Clowney.
All right, so what we have to worry about is we can expect Peppers to be pumped up for this game. Your secondary has looked good. Why is it that you guys can't stop the run? Can you tell us like exactly what is it personnel deficiency? Is it scheme? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely personnel. Like I said, at nose tackle, I mean, B.J. Raji's out, and B.J. Raji was really like the one guy. They let Ryan Pickett, who was flipping between nose tackle and D-end, and Johnny Jolly, who's flipping between nose tackle and D-end. They let him walk. Ryan Pickett finally got signed like 3 weeks of the season in Houston, and Johnny Jolly's still a free agent. I think coming into the season, the Packers only had 5 defensive linemen on their roster.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. I mean, when you talk about who's starting for him, so it's Mike Daniels, who's 6 feet tall. He's kind of like an under tackle type, right? Then they have Mike Pennell, an undrafted free agent rookie. And then they have Dayton Jones, who's currently injured, but he's about probably like 280 pounds. So it's not like there's anyone really stout on that defensive line. Then you look at the inside linebackers, and it's A.J. Hawk, who's not bad, but he's like a defensive fullback at this point. I mean, his point is take on blocks, let the other guy make the move. And then Brad Jones started the season next to him at inside linebacker, got benched for Jamari Lattimore when he got hurt. And then Jamari Lattimore just got hurt, and now Brad Jones is back in the lineup, and he hasn't looked that great. I think he made one move and almost got a sack last week, but he got called back. I mean, when you're watching Miami, Miami was running, and like I took a picture of this for one of my took a screen cap of it on NFL Rewind for my article that's going to be on Bleacher Report tonight about Clinton-Dix, the rookie safety that they're starting to move in more. And at that handoff, you see this gaping hole in the Packers defense, and literally the closest person to him in a straight line is Clinton-Dix, like 15, 17 yards downfield. And like Clinton-Dix makes that instant move to go tackle him, and he tackles him like 7 yards deep. And that's like him playing perfect because the front seven just is not stout and they cannot fill. And there's really only like one guy who's like efficient at being a run defender, and that's A.J. Hawk, and his job is like taking blocks.
Right.
Why is there any? I guess would you say kind of? Are you upset? Is the fan base upset at all with the front office on this? Because to me, a 3-4 defense has to have the right personnel. And that, I mean, for that really to work, for you to line up 3 defensive linemen and expect them to get the job done and hope that those linebackers can be fast enough to get to the quarterback and fill the gaps and things, I feel like your nose tackle has to be awesome. And I don't know, from what it sounds like is that not only is it a personnel deficiency, but it really didn't have a shot to work in the first place.
Well, I think the issue was that they were relying on B.J. Raji, being healthy. I think if all these guys were healthy, I think this defense would look a lot better. They also got Kyrie Thornton, who's a third-round pick. He's on IR too. So that's the issue, is that there's just been injuries at nose tackle. Inside linebacker, really, Ted Thompson hasn't invested that much in there. The whole thing about Ted Thompson is the way he's built this team is to be a nickel-based team. It's this whole theory that Bill Walsh had in the past is once you have that good quarterback, that offense that generates, the other offense in response to that is going to be playing you in a situation that you're going to have to be putting out nickel and dime anyway. So instead of trying to find, guys that are considered specialists, pass rushing specialists and things like that, those are now your base guys. And your specialists are the run defenders. So they have guys like LaTroy Guion, who's coming in, and he's doing, decent amount of solid, being, the one, stout run defender in the rotation. But, he is the specialist that you would consider as the starter in most base defenses. And this team really, if you look at it on paper, it looks like a 3-4 team, a 3-4 under team. That's just playing, or a 4-3 under team that's playing the 3-4. And that's why they started flexing to a 4-3 for a while, and then it got everyone confused. People were lining up 12 men on the field all the time. So then they're going back to the 3-4.
The only person that knows what's going on is Julius Peppers.
Yeah, he's got to figure it out.
He knows how to play the 4-3 though. So he's right at home there. Joey, I think what we're going to have to do in this game is... It's 80s night on our show. We're going to have to run the ball. Joey, let's jump into what we're going to have to do to win this game on the road, and I just don't know if that... Well, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I've been the Debbie Downer for too much. I picked against us on the podcast last week for Cincinnati. I thought, I thought we would give them we would go in there and fight, but I didn't expect us to win. Now, by Friday, here's the thing. This is injustice. You'll get to know this about me, is what I believe on Tuesday is not what I believe on Friday. In fairness to myself, A.J. Green went down on Wednesday, and that to me was the deciding factor, and I picked on the radio on Friday at 4 on the sports bar with Clip Brock. I picked the Panthers to win. We should have won. We could have won, but Riverboat Ron didn't feel like gambling at all or just trying to win. But for us to go into Lambeau is going to be a tough matchup, Joey. I mean, this is a crowd. They have a Hall of Fame. They have their own Hall of Fame in the stadium where you can go and touch the relics and all of this. We have, and you guys, Injustice, you'll like this, is that while you guys have your own Hall of Fame, Peyton Manning has more passing touchdowns than our entire organization. He's got 500 touchdown passes, right, Joe?
Yeah, something like that. 500, 503, something like that.
And he has more than the Jaguars, more than the Panthers, and I forget the other team. But how do we have a chance of going in there, Joey, and getting after Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, that's what it's going to take. But what are you thinking, Joe?
I think yes. If what Justice has said is comes to fruition, if we're able to run the ball and control the time of possession and keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline for most of the game, I think we'll be in good shape. Yes, the Super Bowl trophy is named after the Green Bay coach, maybe the greatest of all time, Vince Lombardi. And yes, that is a very tough place to go in and play. But if there's things that travel well on a team, it's a running game and a defense, but I don't know about the defense part.
No, well, we got a running. Well, all right. That's funny that you say this because the only reason we have a running game is because Cam Newton ran 107 yards.
Exactly.
Other than that, I would say our blocking looked a lot better against Cincinnati, which is, I would think, a formidable foe. But we have not been a running team this year, so Cam Newton is going to have to be on his A game. What do you think, Justice, about this game, the Panthers? Is there any way this is a trap game for you guys? Is this something that could, or is this going to be easy work?
You know, I could see Green Bay dropping this game. Like I said, I mean, they always struggle with these zone read quarterbacks. I think even back in Cam's first year, either like a second or third start, Green Bay struggled with him, and it took it to the end. I mean, this team definitely has issues on the ground. Like I've said, the New York Jets almost beat them at home a couple weeks ago. And that was before really Aaron Rodgers started going off. But, I mean, it's the Jets. And the Jets haven't looked good against anyone else. So, I mean, it's totally viable that Carolina could come into Green Bay and end up beating them. I'm not sure if I would say it's more than a 50% chance, but I was looking at the line earlier, and it's 7 full points. That's a lot. I don't know if I'd say Green Bay's favored by 7 at home against Carolina.
Right.
Wow. This is what that line means. Home field advantage is at least 4 points. But what you got is Aaron Rodgers, and this is the one thing, is Aaron Rodgers is a smart enough quarterback and instinctive enough to do what, even when our defense performs to its best, is that we play a lot of zone. And smart quarterbacks can find the holes. They know where to go on the hot routes and the things like this to where they can dink and dunk their way down the field. What we try to do as an organization, which we have not been able to do this season, is we try to allow guys to do that, and that's okay because before you know it, we're going to get a big sack on you in one play, and we're going to force this to a 3rd and 17, and we're going to get off the field. Now, the problem is that we haven't had the pass rush this season. And the second thing is when we do get the 3rd and long, the 3rd and 9, the 3rd and 13, we can't get off the damn field. Joey, are we going to see an improvement on this defense from last week going into Lambeau?
Well, I think so. I think Justice sort of mentioned that there were some interior line issues, and hopefully we'll be able to expose it because really, as for right now, the strength of our defense hasn't been, but should be, the interior defensive line. We know K'Wan Short's had 2 good weeks in a row. So
and talk about a guy that he's done a lot for us lately, right? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I wanted to say, Justice, one question that I had for you was how do you see the Packers pass rush affecting the Panthers? I was looking and I saw that in the last 3 games the Packers have 7 sacks, but 6 of them came against the Vikings. And they've also had 2 interceptions each of the last 3 games as a defense. Is that because of the pressure, or is that because of the poor quarterback play of the other team?
Yeah, I think I think they were number 1 going into like Monday night in interceptions, and then I think it was the Eagles or something that ended up picking off, or maybe it was the Giants. I can't remember. One of those teams ended up jumping them. But yeah, they're top 3 in the league because of that. Really, I mean, the pass rush, there's really no great threat. They get interior pressure above average. Julius Peppers is getting pressure above average. Outside of that, they don't really have these key players that are like going to dominate anyone or anything like that. But the problem is they have that 4-man rotation with those outside linebackers. They got Nick Perry, who's a former first-round pick, Mike Neal, who could have left and been probably mid to low-level outside linebacker for someone, a starter. They have Clay Matthews, they have Julius Peppers. So what happens is really in the 4th quarter when everyone's winded, they're still able to be fresh. I mean, outside of Clay Matthews, who hasn't looked fresh the entire season. But That's really what happens is like against Chicago and things like that. Is it's just that late pressure that they're able to get, and then someone ends up throwing a late interception, and it's like, all right, there's the dagger. So yeah, I can see them getting some pressure. A lot of it also depends on if Dayton Jones is going to be healthy. He missed last week after struggling through an injury all week through practice. But if they're able to get Dayton Jones and Mike Daniels together, I think Pro Football Focus ranked them as far as 34 defensive ends go. Both of them were like top 10 pass rushers for the position. Yeah, so Dayton Jones can't stop the run, but man, he can get after the pass. And Mike Daniels is looking like a baby Geno Atkins this year. It's really amazing.
Oh, very good.
We're gonna need to get a lot of pressure in this game, Joey, for this to work. We're gonna have to, and you got Aaron Rodgers, who is an athletic quarterback, and we just got a question in on Twitter from Panther Nation at IG Panther Nation, and he wants to know, is Starr regressing? I've seen Cake, and we've got a lot of comments on YouTube going on right now, and a lot of people are saying that K1 Short is the guy that is kind of stepping up to the next level. Do you see this, Joey, and do you see Starr being able to find a way to, are we going to see a resurgence up the middle against Aaron Rodgers in this game?
I think so. I think we're going to see continued good play from Short, and I think Starr has had a couple of bad games in a row where he's been kind of pushed all over the field, which is surprising because he's a big, strong dude. I don't know if it's, there's something psychologically going on, something in his personal life going on, but he's got to step it up. He is a tremendous talent, and for him to not be a contributing factor on this defense is a real shame because he's got the talent, he's got the skill. It's just, I don't know, he's got to get motivated somehow.
Is there any way, Justice, that we can make this slow down this game, run the ball? Obviously, we talked a good bit about running the ball, but is there a way that we can beat you guys or at least make it a game by just keeping you off the field?
Yeah, I mean, McCarthy still stands by just running the ball, even if it doesn't work. Like, he's still going to get any lazy carries, even if it's not going to, like, move the ball more than, like, 2 feet of play. And Aaron Rodgers holds on to the ball pretty long. I mean, he's a late in the down thrower. You watch that Detroit game, and one of the reasons they lost to Detroit is he was giving up the open, flat options that were able, if he just wanted to pick up and pop the ball, to, go and pursue, like, a deep levels, high-low read, and things like that.
Right.
If y'all are able to get some pressure, I mean, no one on Green Bay's offensive line is really, like, you'd stand out and say, this guy is an above-average starter in the league, outside of Josh Sitton, left guard.
Great news. You could say that about the Carolina Panthers offensive line, too. Except for maybe Ryan Khalil.
Yes, that's about it.
So I have one question about the whole Starr thing. How much do you think that's about Hardy being out and then being able to tee off on Starr instead of being able to tee off on Hardy?
There's probably some of that to factor in. The fact that they're able to focus on someone else, and Starr he's been a disruptive force since he's been in the league. So, yes, there's probably something to that. I would say yes.
I think also with that is, and this is something that we've discussed all throughout the season, and we even touched upon early in the show, is that we just didn't realize how important Greg Hardy was and how disruptive he was even when he wasn't appearing to be. And so what you have is that you got two guys that are moved on the interior with K1, and you got Starr. And I think you're right. I think they're able to. What we have is we got a defensive end, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to rotate Addison. We're trying to rotate in Ely, and the other guy is Colin Cole, right, Joe?
Yeah, the front guy, yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is put in some guys that just really don't got it. And for our team, I didn't realize this. I just didn't realize how important Greg Hardy was But Ron Rivera touched upon this in the press conference this week, and he said it would be asinine for him to say that hasn't made a difference. But I do feel that Starr has underperformed. We have seen K1 Short step up more, and hopefully what we saw we'll get to see the true test in Green Bay, is does Big Money Charles Johnson, was his big game in Cincinnati, was it a fluke, which I don't think it was, or is he getting back to normal? And Joey, what I saw in that game from Big Money that I like the most is he just bowled over that right tackle. He didn't make any moves. He didn't even try to swim. He didn't spin. He didn't do nothing. He just pushed that dude straight back into the quarterback. And so what Justice has said is that you got some undersized guys, I guess, and I guess you were referring mostly to the defense with that in some ways. But if we can see that, maybe Charles Johnson is getting back to that country strong, and hopefully we can see that. But it has been a factor, Justice.
Yeah, Cameron Wake did the same thing to Brian Bulaga at right tackle the entire game against Miami. I mean, he was just putting them on skates, pressuring that pocket for a while. And that's why, Green Bay didn't score for forever. I mean, you could really, if you want to, Green Bay will kind of get in their own way sometimes with the play calling and stuff. I think against Chicago, they only had like 6 drives in total the entire game. So, it's totally feasible to beat this team on offense and on defense. I mean, the how you play them is kind of already set out there. You know what I mean?
Right. It's no secret.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news, is that basically it sounds like we both have teams that just have some kind of A, personnel problems, and B, just some overall just weaknesses in general that if you're able to exploit, you got a good shot. So neither team seems to – they're not the dominant force. Carolina is not the dominant force we were last year. Look, last year we could have scored – if we got 20 points in a game, I said we win every 9 out of 10 games. You know, we put up 37, we put up 24, we put up 27. I mean, we're putting up points for us. That's like 50.
Right.
And so, so you never know. And I like to think that our secondary can step up and play a little bit better, but I don't think so. I think Randall Cobb, that's the guy I like on this team. I got some family members that are some Jordy Nelson fans because they're K-State graduates. And, he's that working man that made it. But I think they're a lot to handle. I think they're fast. I think they're shifty. I think they're smart and intelligent receivers. And you got a smart, intelligent quarterback. So I think that we're going to have, it's going to be a tough game. I think that on the road, I don't know if I take Green Bay with points, though. 7 is a lot.
Yeah. The other thing is Green Bay also is getting this emerging third receiver, Davante Adams, out of Fresno State, who's only like 20 years old. He has like a 40-inch vertical. He was drafted in the 2nd round last year. Really, Jarrett Boykin started getting hurt, and then anyway, they were still like rotating him as the third receiver, as the outside guy, putting Randall Cobb in the slot so he could take advantage of dudes in space. But the past 2 games he started, and man, he's looked good. I mean, him and Rodgers connected 2 weeks ago on a pass that might have been his best pass ever, and it ended up getting called back. And then this last week he ran that fake spike to him, and I guess they weren't even on the same page. Like I guess they just gave each other a look. Like they hadn't ever practiced this. Aaron Rodgers just telepathically told this 20-year-old that has a 40-inch vertical that he's been starting with for 2 weeks. That was like, yo, this is the play that we're gonna run right here. And he went that little fake spike, and he ended up getting him like 16 yards or something. Put him into a range where they could score.
Davante Adams, Fresno State, like you said, and I think my camera froze up. Hold up. There we go.
You're good.
Davante Adams, I think, led all of college football in just production. Like last year.
Fresno State, Derek Carr and him, they really just ran fade routes the entire time. That's the issue with Davante. He's freak athletically. Like,
right.
You look at him and you're like, all right, this is probably, like, you can already tell, this is probably going to be like the 2nd most talented receiver Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to play with behind, Jordy Nelson, maybe Randall Cobb. The issue is he just pretty much just ran and flew down the sideline the entire time at Fresno State. because they ran this wide open offense and Derek Carr can hit the deep ball. So they were like, all right, I guess this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, Adams,
he's raw. He's just a raw talent.
I liked Adams coming out of the draft. I thought he's got some skill. He could be a special kind of player. And there's no better system for him to be in than Green Bay, I don't think, with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback.
And when you get some guys, too, that you don't have a lot of pressure on them. So, like, for instance, in Carolina where we drafted Kelvin Benjamin, is that Kelvin Benjamin needed to come in and be the guy right away. And I know that Adams, he dropped a lot in the rankings, but he was graded pretty high at some points, I felt like. A lot of people think that he can be a number one receiver in the NFL. I think he can. And so we'll see about that. Justice, we're kind of running over on time, so what we're going to do we have one last segment, and I'm going to let you just give you a heads up on what we do, and so you can come up with your pick. Each week, we give a ice-up pick of the week, where we tell somebody in the spirit of Steve Smith to toughen up, to ice up, son. And Joey, my pick this week, I'm going to jump in there because I didn't even tell you. I know we do it every week, but I didn't even mention that we were going to be doing it right now, is that my pick goes to good old Cow Turd.
Hey, Cow Turd, you are just – I don't even have a name for you anymore except Cow Turd.
That's what I feel about Vontaze. What kind of name is Vontaze, by the way? Or what's his name?
Vontaze.
Burfict.
Yeah.
Vontaze Burfict. What kind of name is that? First of all, it's I mean, we shouldn't be busting on people's names, but I can bust on this dude. I'm going to tell this guy right here, you're trying to take out people. You're trying to go after knees. You're trying to pull on ankles. You're just being a dirty dog. And then when our boy, Luke Kuechly goes down because you guys practice in the offseason, you run out there and you hug him and you pick him up like you're trying to make up for everything. So this goes to you, sir, Mr. Vontaze Burfict. You and your imperfect name can go ahead and ice up. All right, Joey, it's on you.
Oh, where to begin?
Roman Harper?
Deku. Thomas Deku.
Here you go.
Thomas Deku and Roman Harper suck. You're welcome. Sincerely, a Falcons fan.
Oh.
Now, Thomas Deku, you are in the NFL. You're making big money. Not Charles Johnson big money, but you're making big money. Why are you scared to make a tackle? You're getting paid millions of dollars. Go in there and hit somebody. Go in there and act like you're in the NFL. This isn't junior varsity football. This is NFL football. You're not Deion Sanders. You can't not tackle because you're so good at covering. Lord knows that's not the case. So get in there, son, and please make a tackle. This defense needs you.
Let me say one thing about Deku before you tell him what you got to tell him, Joe. And this is, I feel like he would be the guy that when you were in like middle school and your shoes were untied, the jackass that stepped on your shoelaces on purpose. Just to be, because that's how Thomas Deku tackles. That's what he tries to tackle. He tries to grab your shoelaces and trip you up, and that's it. So tell him what you got to say, Joey.
So, Thomas Deku, this goes out to you, the arm tackler extraordinaire. Ice up, son.
All right. Justice, do you have an ice up pick on short notice?
Yeah, I have a nice up pick. I mean, Clay Matthews. It would be a shame. It would be a shame to trade you for a 6th-round pick to Atlanta. That seems like the only team that would be willing to do this at this point. I mean, you're looking stiffer than a pencil, man. Brian Tannehill just found you on a read option, man. I don't know if you're still in Miami. You might have not made the trip back, but if you did, it's time to ice up.
Hey, man. Wow. I like that. That's a bold pick. That's your guy. That's supposed to be y'all's guy.
Well done.
Yes, well done. Well, great first entry into the C3 podcast, and we're definitely coming back. What we need now at the last moment is just to say goodbye and tell people where to hit us up at. Justice, you mentioned you got a story coming out. Plug where our fans and our friends, more so than our fans, they are our friends, can check out your work, particularly this week as Carolina goes to Green Bay.
Yeah, so my name is Just Mosqueda again. My Twitter handle is Jumosq, Jumosq. You can find my Packers work at BleacherReport.com. Tonight I'll have a piece out on HaHa Clinton Dix, the rookie safety for the Packers, and then tomorrow I'll have a game plan piece laying out what Green Bay needs to do to beat Carolina. So yeah, you guys can find my stuff there. Thanks for having me on, y'all. This is fun. I'll do it again for sure.
Oh yeah, man, you were a tremendous guest. I wish all of our guests had the energy and insight that you came and brought tonight. I definitely want to get you on at draft time.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Definitely want to get you on.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, we do a ton of work on the draft, and that's our site, our website, and surprisingly is just as active if in the off season. And I think that says something about Carolina fans as well. Is that, I mean, that is a big time for us. So you definitely, we have draft parties. One of the things that we do, and this is, we'll have you call in or jump in on draft night. We like to usually have a live draft party where we watch and discuss the draft as a show, and we have somebody jump in from each team for 5 minutes and talk about their pick afterwards. So you'll be looking for us around then.
Yes,
All right,
definitely.
sounds good.
Joey, tell them what's up with you.
I'm Joey Riolano, a.k.a. the Freaking Puerto Rican. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. And you can find me on Sundays at Southside 717 at Tanger Outlets here in Charleston, South Carolina, for the weekly meeting of the Carolina Panthers Fan Club of Charleston. I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be a great game against Green Bay.
Speaking of, Joey, of the fan club, and everybody watching right now is that, and listening later on, is that I'm going to be putting out a YouTube video of y'all's reaction to when Ted Nugent missed that field goal last week, because we have it on tape. And I've never seen some cats so excited about being a tie ever. It's crazy. So this is the C3 podcast by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. You can check us out every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. live on YouTube, Google Plus, on the website. You can download it later on Stitcher and iTunes, and always follow us on Twitter at cat_chronicles, and give us a like on Facebook. Good big things coming for us this week and the coming weeks, Joey. I got a lot of big announcements to make, but I'm working hard on the tech part and stuff like that. But on the way out the door, what I'm just going to do is, let me see if I can turn off this, and let's just go ahead and say good night.